Novel Chronicles is a tabletop web series combining improvised storytelling and acting structured using the rules of a role-playing game. There are 4 players who each represent a character in a group of adventurers. And there is one game master who plays everyone else in the world the characters encounter. Because it's a game, there are a lot of dice rolls. Typically, lower numbers are bad, and higher numbers are good. We use our imaginations and props, miniature terrain, and vivid performances by our 5 actors. And our story is set in the alternative fantasy world of ben-tir. This is Novel Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Novel Chronicles. I am the Game Master Timothy Reese, and we are very excited to have you here. And by we, I would like to go to our cast of wonderful characters.
Hi, I am Bill Crowe, and I play Hecate, the Nomad Arcanist.
I am Danielle Beckmann, and I play Greta, the non-nomad alchemist. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Mark David Christenson, and I'm playing Iwin for hire, who is Farn, and is starting to reveal a little bit about his past that's very secretive. Uh-oh.
Hey there, I'm Victoria Rani. I am your furry Rolk, and I am also a barbarian named Ashvin.
Where last we left off, the party, now known as the Caveat Cooperative, are in the failed city known as Restovar. Once a quiet fishing village, an open sinkhole 5 years back caused a massive influx of prospectors and investors to attempt to plumb the deep riches of the earth. With that came too much money, too many people, and an ever-rotating cast of mercenaries providing protection and the sword for any who can pay as they mine the pits. These rough times and rough folks have left a mark on the population and the city itself. A thick silt and mud covers every street, and every day a toxic plume of smoke and steam blooming from pipes carrying the deep-stoked fires within the pits that constantly boil out the encroaching seawater blankets the entirety of the winding thoroughfares in an early darkness. The Caveat Cooperative are in the employ of the politically impotent mayor, Kubra Skeletarn, who has aspirations of using bureaucracy to corral some semblance of order in the city. Lord Gelatarn has tasked the party with investigating the former holdings of the defunct Alders to find any indiscretions that would legally allow him to seize their stake and consolidate a council majority. And then with this majority, the mayor could appeal to Restovarn's neighbors to provide stability and turn the city from a scrambling mess into something uplifted. As their first investigation, the Caveat Co-op are a few miles north and investigating Emer's Heap, the former wheat fields of the Alder Emer, turned into a dumping ground for the pits. While approaching the way station, one of the large dunes of loose silt began humming and shifting from the high winds and started cascading as a tidal wave towards the now running party. As we cut to you, the sounds of screams, stumbling, and the braying of livestock are beginning to fill your ears, as well as the ever-increasing sound of a huge 100-foot-high tip of silt, mud, rocks, boulders, and ores that is now raining down towards you like some sort of volcano of mud. As you're currently attempting to run, you're finding yourself surrounded by other individuals who are running as well, as you're attempting to pelt your way past as stones and boulders are now flying overhead as they're coming rolling out of the tip. Before we get to anything, is there anything any of you would like to be doing?
Yes.
It's 100 feet high. How many feet away?
It's gaining probably 20 feet a second, 30 feet a second.
Okay.
It's at this point, it's several hundred tons of mud that is now washing towards you.
Ashvin, up, up! I
Throw up on her shoulders.
As you're thrown up on her shoulders.
Thank you.
As you're now running away, looking behind you, you can see that two of the mercenaries, both of them bedecked in arcane-covered robes. You see them both pounding their fists together before a shield forms in front of them, flickering with this blue cast of energy that is now like an arc in front. You watch as the mud collides with both of them, as it's beginning to pour up over the sides, as they're attempting to shelter a sort of corridor for people to run away from the now increasing mudslide. With a few quick starts, you hear one of them straining under the weight before you see the shield flicker and the wizard vanish under the weight of the mud, as now only one shield is remaining.
How big is the shield?
It's 8 feet wide, 8 feet high. It's enough to provide the people behind it some semblance of protection.
How far away are they from us?
They're now over your shoulder. You're not near them.
Okay.
You're running away. But as you're now currently running, you begin to hear the whistle of stones through the air as they're now bouncing and rolling off the top of the tip. If I could have everybody make dexterity saves.
Oh boy.
Somebody's shield failed!
20.
8.
8,
9.
9,
11.
11. So Greta, Ashvin, and Iwin, you all take 12 points of bludgeoning damage as stones and boulders begin to rain into you. Hecate, you take 6 points of bludgeoning damage, as at this point, it's impossible to dodge the stones that are coming down from the hill. And looking at it's what's striking you, it's a mix of gravel, boulders, raw smelted ore that is slag. It's this mess of things that have been combined in these giant muck heaps. You begin to hear the kind of whimpered call out of others next to you. As you can see as you're running, others have not been so lucky and are now being buried in the silt as you're continuing your run. As you're trying to get up the embankment in front of you, because you came down this gravel road to arrive at the way station, as you're attempting to climb up the embankment, you can see now that the silt is beginning to meet up with your upward ascent. There's around 80 people near you that are all desperately trying to climb at the same time up this embankment. And as it is, the sort of first wave of silt washes underneath you and almost threatens to lose you off your grip as another increasing tidal wave is about to interact with the face you're climbing. Is there anything anyone would like to do as you're climbing this rock face, trying to get away from it?
If there's somebody who's nearby that is it's in a particular struggle or is threatened to kind of fall off, Hecate would like to try and use levitate on them and just kind of
Make a perception check.
call out to them and say, I can help. Perception. 4.
4. A quick glance around at the moment, you don't see anyone. But if you want to hold it, it's just something that you have ready to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Ashvin feels like Hecate's can take care of himself, but they're going to see if Iwin's nearby and kind of hold out a hand to help drag him up
Oh,
with...
you're right next to Iwin.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna kind of grab him by the arm or by the armor and just try and drag him up as I'm just going as fast as I can to
Okay.
get up to the top.
So, are you willingly going along with that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So with Hecate looking out for anyone who's getting left behind, with Greta on Ashvin's shoulders.
And I have a speed of 40 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Are we? Oh, okay. So we're going.
You're on my
40 and I'm on
shoulders.
your shoulders. How far are we up? Like
got a
almost
good-
to the top.
No, you've got a good 60 feet of climb
Okay.
that you've got to pull.
Okay.
Oof. Looking back now, you can see this bubble that's formed from the wizard who is still standing against the wave of the silt. It doesn't look like they've been budged off course, but the other wizard is nowhere to be found. So as you are beginning the climb, if I could have Hecate and I could have Ashvin make athletics checks.
Okay.
It's hard Scrabble.
It's a 12.
12?
22.
22? It's enough. As you are digging your hands into the embankment, this is not silt. This is hard stone. Okay. So you're actually able to get a grip as you're beginning to climb up the sides of this. And as you're pulling your way along, you are outpacing everyone around you. Looking back, you can see Hecate's a few feet behind you, keeping up. But a lot of the individuals, it doesn't look like they know how to climb. And as they're attempting to make their way up, the second wave of this tidal kicks in and begins to wash against the stonework. It's just at your feet. If you could just make a dexterity check to make sure you hold on.
Do I reach the top before he does?
You're not at the top yet.
Okay, I'm
You're
not
still
at the
in
top
the middle.
yet. Okay, still in the middle.
9. As you are climbing your way up, as it kicks up against your boots, you find that your handhold slips and you dip about down to your waist into the silt. Looking around you, you can see a lot of individuals are now buried up to their shoulders as they're calling out and reaching for the rocks. As you can see in the distance, one last wave of this tip is about to collide inward towards you.
Do I hear that?
You all see this. You're close.
Okay. Ashvin, just a second. I'm going to teleport backward to Hecate with my Boots of the Winding Path. It's my brand new item. 15 feet.
Yeah.
I can
He's
go
10
within
feet below
15
you.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go down, and I'm just going to do everything I can to try to help him out.
Okay, so if you could make an athletics check and with advantage because she's helping.
Could I use that levitate on myself
You could.
and attempt to pull myself and Greta up?
Yeah, you could.
Okay, so these boots literally, can work.
As you don't even leave the shoulders
Work.
as you just feel Greta vanish from you.
Those boots can work.
Yes,
Boots can work.
they were made for teleporting.
So as you find yourself now, as you teleport back instantly down to the rock face below, you only sink down a little bit. You don't weigh that much, so you're not really displacing a lot of the silt. It's very unstable though as you're attempting to pull Hecate up.
Okay.
Looking above, you can see that Ashvin and Iwin are still climbing. So
As soon as she hops off and I feel that, I'm gonna turn back to Iwin real quick and say, I know you hate this, but and lift him up onto my back.
I don't hate it right now!
as the weight shifts up to your shoulders, you feel the heavy plate armor just pushing up against the back of your head now as you begin climbing. For you, casting levitate.
Yeah, as he will invoke the Ascent card and kind of pull it out. It kind of circles around him as he kind of puts it back into his little leather pouch and will cast levitate.
All right, so as you feel yourself with the assistance of Greta now pulling out of the silt around you, other individuals are attempting to cloy onto you from their position as they're reaching out. It's to the point where you're not even, it's such a cacophony of voices and volume of the sound of the tip collapsing that you can't even really hear what they're saying. It's just you feel the pull at your boots of hands and fingers trying to clasp onto you. Are you able to carry anyone else with levitate?
I can carry up to 500 pounds.
500 pounds.
So
Are you allowing them to hold on to you?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. With you and Greta, that would give you 2 more people.
I will, if there's 2 people nearby, Hecate kind of looks down and sees these people clawing and trying to grasp at him and will fight the urge to save himself and Greta and allow these 2 other people to.
As you feel one set of hands clasp around, looking, you can see that they're taloned and clawed. Immediately you know it's a Virm who's currently grasping onto your boots.
Yeah.
And looking out at the other side, you can see that it's a pair of very furry hands that, given the musculature that's there, you realize it's a Rolk who's clasping on. It's a lot of weight, suddenly. Moving a little slowly as you feel it stretching against the full measure of the power of this spell.
Come on.
You're lifting out of the muck as you begin. Are you also climbing? How fast are you moving with?
20 feet per round.
Okay, so as you're pulling out of that, looking down now, you can see that there are 2 individuals who are grasping on, looking up at you with these looks of terror as you're continuing to climb. If I could have everybody make athletics checks.
12.
12?
25 athletics.
25? Oh my gosh.
13.
13?
19.
19. All right. So as you're now continuing to ascend across the face, you just really making
I've been
quick
climbing
work
my
of it.
whole life.
Yeah, this is nothing. This is nothing as you look back at the terror of an encroaching mud tidal wave. But as you're continuing to climb upwards now, you can see the last bits of the tip beginning to slide forward. And as it does, you can see rolling along the top of it large boulders that are now pelting their way towards the cliffs. 2 of them bounce off towards you, but they actually split at the last second, and you watch as they just collide with several individuals who are in the middle of the face before they vanish back into the mud below.
Oh, Graves.
Looking, though, you can see that bounding towards you across the surface, almost like skipping stones, are large boulders about the size of watermelons that are heading your way. If I could have everybody make dex saves as you're continuing, you're almost at the top.
No. 5.
So I rolled a 4 and then I rolled a 5. 6.
6?
Me too!
So 6?
16.
16. Ashvin, Iwin, and Hecate, as the stones are bouncing towards you, one of them hits you directly in the back of in the back as you find yourself now pinned against the stone slightly for a moment before it falls back into the silt. The three of you take 15 points of bludgeoning damage. As it almost levels you. You take half that, so you take 7 points.
Time to see if levitate stays up.
Yep.
Natural 20.
Oh.
Hecate just takes it. Not gonna let that go.
As your fingers are just digging into the stonework, you can feel your nails pushing against the nail beds. As you're currently just trying to hold on.
I'm not about to let these people go.
As you're now cresting the top of the hill, rolling over almost in a exhausted collapse at the impacts you just took, you can see that others have also made the climb, but many have not. As the last wave of mud almost comes directly even with the earthworks below, and just you hear silence. Looking around you, when you began climbing, there were at least 80 people on the face. Now you see less than 30. The two individuals that were with you, as they were holding onto your boots, are now resting next to you. One of them is in the gold tabard of Grin and Barrett. You can see that it looks like from the initial impact of the stones that they appear to be nursing a broken leg, as they're currently resting on the ground attempting to splint it. The other individual looks to be a muck hauler. It's the Rolk individual, who just from the sort of careworn working gloves they have going up to their elbows that are just stained in this rich earth. Can't actually tell what color their fur is. They're so now covered in gray and mottled as the individual just turns, "Bless you."
Thank you.
As they are currently just observing the destruction that was just reaped across the heap.
Can
All
I
of you are safe.
go over to the Grin and Barrett?
The Virm.
The Vir, who with the broken leg?
Excuse me.
Is there...
Can I suss out the situation?
Looking, you can see that it appears to be, it appears they broke their leg below the knee. They're wearing armor that's chainmail, but from the weight of it, you can see it's contorted slightly. Is it? I can't move it!
Oh, I'm gonna give myself cure wounds too, but help this person.
I have one of the pieces from the ship that I didn't end up giving to the modeled Thievises because I was
skimped out
upset
on
at them. So I'm gonna sticks. So I'm gonna take out of my Fathom satchel. I'll remember it's in there and help try to splint what's happening,
All right.
and then cast Cure Wounds.
So as you cast Cure Wounds, you watch as the wound begins to heal. Could you go ahead and let me know what
Yeah,
the roll for that is?
9.
No, that's a lot. The wound mostly heals as you watch the bones snap back into place as the person screams at the sudden shift of weight before they suddenly, "Oh, you healed it. Thank you. Thank you." As they wrap their armored plates around you in a massive embrace.
Ooh, ouchie. Ouchie.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm taking a lot of hits. You're welcome. Does this happen often?
Every few weeks?
Every few weeks.
Well, it's not safe, no.
These is my friends. What's your name?
Gazi.
Jessie. Why do you work here? If this happens every few weeks,
The pay is really good.
the pay is really good. For a life? I don't think so. You deserve better conditions than this. When I open up my business, not gonna have conditions like this.
Ashvin's on the ground.
How are you guys doing?
Iwin, are you all right?
Oh, I'm holding on.
We took a hit.
We took a big hit.
I guess I'll
you
cure the
alright?
wounds.
I'm fine.
You're fine. Oh, yeah, I'm feeling
I
it.
mean, I'm tired, but you don't look great.
Oh, I don't feel great either.
You feel like you can feel every rib in your body.
I think everything's broken to some degree right now.
Greta.
Yep, I feel that.
She's pointing just
What healing stuff you got? Let's heal ourselves. This is bad. Whew.
We just need a moment, you know.
I know.
Oh,
Gazzy, what's your job?
I run to make sure that the way station stays in order, but we have to go dig out the survivors.
What?
Yeah, we're not
Standing
done
up,
yet.
you watch as Gazzy, limping slightly on the leg but testing it out, begins shifting silt away from the edge of the rock.
Is this the Rolk?
This is the
Virm.
Virm, yeah. And as they're beginning to dig out in front, you watch as other survivors, some of them ignoring grievous wounds along the sides of these rocks, all leaning forward, begin to dig out and call out into the silt.
Ashvin gets up, goes to the edge, and starts to help.
As you begin digging through, a lot of is anyone else helping with this?
Yeah, Hecate kind of just leans up. He's not looking great, and he will, also ignoring what is probably grievous wounds.
Yeah,
and
as you
will
begin to
says,
dig, you can see that you have cuts all down your fingers from when you took the hit, trying to maintain the spell. As it just pressed you up against the stones. Feels like every finger is bleeding in some way. And as you begin digging through the silt, there's people calling out. No one's daring to step into the muck, as it's far too slippery and dangerous. You could possibly just descend into it.
Even if I use my boots? What if I tried?
You could, if you could. You want to step into the...
I don't know. Probably not.
You could try. You're able to.
I mean, if
Jump
people's
back.
down there, if I can jump, and then I jump back.
You want to jump in?
Sure.
So as you jump in, you sink to about your shoulders.
No. Help!
As you're now currently, you just see a head and ears facing away from you, looking out at the silt.
Decision!
can I reach with my mace and try to get...
This is a little
If
too
I'm
far.
Too far
stuck,
for
can
that?
I jump back?
Right now,
With
you're
my boots?
right now. If you activate it, sure.
Sure, I'll try.
So as you tap together once more, you teleport back to the shore now, covered in muck.
Ooh, don't go
There's a
down
Greta-shaped hole in the
Yeah,
muck
as it
now.
just slowly seals.
there. Okay, don't go down there.
Let's not do that.
I can't believe people work like this.
As the people around you continue digging, but slowly begin giving up on the dig. As the day is getting a little lower, just this stretch of silt and muck before you seems to be it has almost a gelatin-like consistency as the wind sweeps over it. Constantly rippling, constantly shifting. It's not sand, it's something more dynamic, it's something more wet. And now you begin to, it's undeniable the fetid stink of this soil, which is contaminated with all number of acrid regions, either from the salt that permeated it before it receded or whatever lies in the earth that was smelted.
Was one of the people we saved that mage that was still left? Or are they gone?
Oh yeah,
They're gone.
That's
Okay.
the other one holding up the bubble. That's gone too.
Yep. Until now, as you're looking down onto the crested hill that's pushed up against it, you can see that there are individuals who were on other dunes, because when you approach, there were the other dunes in front of you, because it's like a sea of silt and muck. There were at least 100 people in view who had been on other hills, building up, either shifting from one pile to another or maintaining some sort of contraptions that were moving this muck around. They appear to also attempting to be digging, and you can see that there is some success at the base. It's further away from you. It's at least 60 feet down and probably another 100 feet. But you can hear cheers and people calling out from the top of the hill as survivors have been found that were in the base closer to the way station that you fled from. And as one moment, as you're beginning to really see darkness begin to settle on this area, as the last bits of sun, you only have about 30 minutes left of light, you see suddenly the flicker and the burn of blue arcane energy as the silt gets shifted, and you can see the mage still maintaining the bubble with a half dozen or so individuals crowded around them as they manage to survive the onslaught of the tidal wave. As they're still holding this sphere in the middle of it. Until finally, as someone gives a light rap against it, you see the spell break and the mage collapse as there's a cheer that rises up from below in the heap. But as the day goes on, you find yourselves alone, just the four of you, looking down at Emer's heap. Small torches in the distance of those who actually appear to have tents or live in the heap rather than moving into the city itself. But as the sun is beginning to set, what would you like to do?
That was rough.
I don't get this kind of life. This is dangerous.
Why did we come here again?
To find out if there was anything going on here that doesn't align with the mayor's, what he had envisioned around here.
Yeah, so something out of place, something that's wrong. I mean,
Feels all out of place, if you ask me.
absolutely.
Of course this feels out of place.
I don't know how you grow anything here.
No, this is not a wheat field. Right? It was wheat, right?
Do we know what caused this slide?
This is the wind, yeah.
The wind? No, there's
How
gotta
did
be
somebody
something
do
else.
This, you know?
So, okay, I'm gonna investigate the dirt. Look at the dirt, see what's in here.
Right. I just gotta give me 1 second before I go investigate anything. I am feeling a lot of pain over here. I'd like to use. Can I use cure wounds on myself?
You can. Also, I just realized you could technically use this as a short rest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great.
could
Yeah.
just do that.
So-
I'm just
Do
so.
that.
So just go ahead and roll those. Go ahead and roll those die.
Yeah, I would like to make an investigation check on the dirt, especially having grown up in a construction site, being able to decipher what different rocks are, all those sorts of things. And especially if we're curious about a smelting operation, what that would look like.
So make an investigation check.
23.
23. Looking down at the stones from your position without entering the heap itself, as it is, the clamber down is something you'll have to decide together to go because it's still unstable. Lifting up the soil in your hands and looking at some of the stones, a lot of it is useless rock. It's the kind you would find, it's sedimentary. It doesn't even really have a building purpose besides compacted gravel. You can see there are traces of quartz in it, in the dirt, which would lend you to believe that there's something that's coming out of possibly something near marble or granite. And also looking down, you do notice most distinctly that some of the flecks of rock and stone, it's almost like glitter, as it's so loose, is glowing a very pale orange, like embers. It's not hot, there's no temperature to it, but it is a small bit of stone that actually glows in the hand.
Would I know what that is?
A history check.
14.
14. Looking at it, you're aware this is a rare stone. It's very unstable in the earth, so it's hard to find larger pieces. The largest you would ever find is the size of an acorn, if you could ever find one that big. But it's called Postulite. And it's naturally phosphorescent. It reacts pretty volatilely with fresh water. You're aware that salt stabilizes it in a way. It's so little of it that it's like a fine dust glitter, but it's unmistakable.
Everybody come gather around, look at this.
What?
See these? It's okay, tiny little, see how it glitters just a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, so my memory serves me right. This is called Postulite. I never worked with it directly, but my parents taught me some things. This makes sense. This would be near the ocean, cause it's this is a type of a rock that salt kind of stabilizes the chemicals in it, the compounds. I know fancy things, see, and remnants in here leads me to believe that there's not far from here somebody's probably got an operation with Postulite going. Postulite's real valuable. Not as valuable as gold, but almost.
What's it used for?
I don't know.
It's not a building material. You've seen it in stores for sale.
Yeah, I've seen it but it glows. It almost looks like a fiery fire in a gem. So maybe the elite like to use it for pretty things. I don't know, but it costs a lot because it's not the most common.
Would that have been a reason that the last mercenaries asked for more money? Is that
Why?
some big secret?
Postulite?
I'm trying to remember. He told us that he had hired people before us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they came back and asked for more money because they said that there's some secret going on. Is that...
Well, that might be it, because maybe they wanted to get in on the Postulite instead of busting out the organization saying, no, you're not doing the right thing. Maybe they wanted to be in cahoots and get the Postulite themselves.
Are there people around us?
No, you're alone.
Okay.
Does Hecate recognize Postulite as an arcane component?
You're aware of it. It is. You have seen it for sale in an arcanery of sorts. It's rare. There's a few stones in ben-tir that are on the much rarer side. One of them is called Gasparite, and Gasparite's used a lot of the times in the construction of clerical confinements because it acts as a magical amplification stone. It works for arcane magics as well. It works for all magics. So the typical mass buyers of it are confinements because they will build entire structures that surround glass thoughts with it when they can. And it will further amplify the astral power they're pulling.
Yeah.
Postulite, you're not aware of what it's used for, but you have seen, typically when it's found, it's not loose. It's sealed in small glass diadems so that it's not exposed to the air.
It's a really temperamental kind of thing.
And I'm taking out my deep blue leather notebook, and I'm kind of writing down everything that I'm learning here because I haven't seen it, just so I have this for the future.
Yeah, I don't think this is the kind of thing that my new friend Akna would sell.
So do we think that the source maybe of this is not from the pit, but somewhere up here?
Absolutely, because where would this come from? We was in Restaurant. We didn't see none of this kind of stuff there. It's got to be over here.
An ampoule, that's what it's called.
What?
The word used to describe a fully sealed glass container is called an ampoule. You have to break it to open it.
So,
I'd like to do what your plan was. Go investigate maybe where the source of that fall came from.
yeah, I don't know if we've got to go talk to that mage, though. I think we should keep a low profile, right? What do you think, Ashvin?
Sure. I think we could do both, but...
It's getting pretty dark at this point, so any scrambling you're going to be doing is going to be in the dark.
I'll have my torch out.
Okay.
Okay.
Gonna be keeping a bright light out.
Are we sticking around here for the night?
I guess, can we sleep in your tent?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe if this operation is supposed to be so secret, they might be working in the night. Keep themselves
that's
a good
ready for
point.
being
That's
seen,
the
so they
thought.
might get... I'm just guessing here. But maybe we want to
But that's a
start
good
looking
point.
around at night, you know.
It's easier to spot Postulite at night because it glows.
Right.
And you can see around you there's little flecks, almost like there's burnt embers that have been scattered. They're pinpricks of light. They're nothing extreme. In fact, even reaching to pick them up would be difficult because they're so fine that they would fall between your fingers like salt. The area down in front of you, if you were to try to descend at the slope you just climbed, that would be very treacherous. The one you just came up, because even though it sloped down and it leads down to the basin where you had seen the way station before, which is now covered in a layer of silt. As the tip shifted, it actually poured over the way station, flowed up the sides, and then left itself at a kind of triangle leading back to the way station area. So there's only about a foot or so of soil currently sitting over top of the gravel where previously you had seen large wagons being unloaded in the company of the mercenaries. Everyone who was caught there at that station would have been washed into the triangle which is now resting against the hillside. Various tents and small fires burning in the distance in the heap because it appears people actually live in the heap.
I had an idea.
What?
There were 2 mages.
The
One
other
of them
one
got
died.
swept up.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody there, anybody still underneath that silt, I'll be there. He points to like the triangle area. I can look around with, see if I can detect any magic nearby.
Okay. That sounds
And
good.
if they're still alive, we can talk to them. If
Okay.
they're not, I can talk to them.
Yeah, you're chatty with everyone. Alive, dead. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Undead. Yeah, I'll go for it.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
Yeah. So I will, Hecate will kind of sit down and ritually cast Detect Magic with the card labeled The Sight.
As you attempt to see through the mound, your vision is fully blocked by the
Fully
dirt.
blocked?
Yeah. It only penetrates 3 feet of dirt.
Yeah.
And so just attempting to look down into the pile, it's so thick. It's hundreds of tons of dirt
Makes
that
sense.
have washed up.
Well,
There's no magic nowhere?
this was a waste of time.
I have an idea. Maybe we camp for the night, close over to where we see everyone else, and just under the guise of saying that we came here looking for work and then this big catastrophe happened, that we just find out what we can find out.
Maybe, but
I
I
agree.
feel like you can see Postulite more in the dark, so it's better
It's
to
true.
see.
It's true.
What if? Oh,
I still think we should take
But
a
we
look
could do
around
both.
at night.
okay.
We see. I'd agree. I mean, but I think we should maybe go look around. We can always come back.
Yeah, let's do a little look around, a little
Sure.
walk away,
Sure.
and then come back if we need to, unless we find something. Then we take them out.
As you backtrack a little bit to the original ledge from which you had overlooked this valley, and do a quick hard scrabble down the slopes of receded soil line, stepping into furrows that have been washed by rain and also just eroded from the foot traffic that was not using the main gravel road, but using this alternate path. And suddenly find yourselves after a dusty, difficult climb down, where at any given point you feel like you're just going to have your feet slide out from under you, or you're just going to descend into this heap. As you're not all adept yet at figuring out where you can walk and where you can't. You find yourself now fully within the heap. These piles of earth that have been moved go up 60, 80, sometimes some of them 100 feet high. You have a bit of backtracking as you get distracted by the shininess of some of the things you find on the ground. Occasionally you'll find a tin of food, thinking that it's some kind of clue. Attempting to find a trail, eventually you begin to follow streaks of this orange glimmering postulite, which falling almost like dust in front of you. It's very faint. It's difficult to pick out at points, and you spend a lot of time backtracking as you go back and forth attempting to find any kind of indication or pockets of where it's going. But eventually you do catch on to what looks like, almost like dollops of it have been left at intervals. Like it was possibly intentionally dropped or placed, or as if there was a hole in some sort of container that was slowly leaking it out as the wheels bounced along.
What is the state that it's in now? Is it like a hardened rock or
It's not.
crystallized?
It's still this fine dust. So
Dust,
nothing,
okay.
nothing inherently valuable, impossible to sort, but enough to follow a trail.
Okay.
And as you're now picking your way through, you can see tents on either side with small oil lanterns lit inside as individuals are cooking meals on some sort of acrid smelling smoke. They're burning something to cook their food. You can...
Is it flesh of a humanoid?
It's not.
I don't think
Is it
so.
squink meat?
It smells like garbage.
Oh,
But
Never mind.
as you're picking your way through, there's at least 30 or 40 tents and small fires that are burning just within eyesight. No one's paying you any attention that you can tell. Eventually, you walk a good 300 or 400 feet around several dunes, and the piled up remains of what looked to be some of the wagons that had been in the train that had been twisted and mangled by the force of the dirt rolling over them. And you make your way towards the backside of one of these dunes. You find, curiously, what looks to be an oblong structure.
A building.
It's not a building. See, from your perspective, it almost looks like a raft. In fact, Ashvin, it looks very much like a makeshift river raft.
Is it just flat on the ground?
You can just see it's flat. It's a larger structure, but it's just lashed together wooden logs.
How big?
It's large. It's
Okay.
at least 20 feet by 20 feet.
Okay.
And it's made up of a misshapen number of logs. They look to be almost thrown together, but they're tightly bound by thick rope and cord. And it's resting at a slightly catacorner angle in the middle of what would have been the backside of the heap that actually collapsed.
Is there anything like coming from it?
You can see that there are piled up glitter of Postulite that's actually near enough to the structure in front of you.
Is there anyone guarding it or nearby it?
No.
Hey, let's go and check this out, right?
Yeah, this is
Yeah, I want to go
curious.
right towards it
Why
and
would
try to
they-
climb into it. Or on top.
As you,
Is it overturned or is it?
it's sitting at an angle.
Angle.
Yeah, you can only see the raft. So you can see it sitting on top of the. It appears that it was either buried within the heap of the piled up dune that collapsed, or it was pushed against it.
So if it's at an angle, it's like beside the dune. Is there any space underneath
There's
it?
not that you can see.
Okay.
The dune washes up to it.
Okay.
But as you walk over to it, and are you stepping on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. As you climb on top of it, it's solid. It doesn't budge. And as you step on it, there is a very slight hollow sound underneath.
Is this the roof of a building?
There's something.
Wait,
That's a good guess.
hey,
Iwin,
should we try to lift it up?
Step back a bit. And Ashvin will go to an end and try and lift it up.
As you go to lift it, you find that you're as strong as you are. Make an athletics check.
I want to help.
Could Hecate
Okay,
assist?
make it with advantage. Is everyone helping as you attempt to lift it?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So as everyone digs in to try to lift this structure, make it with it's just Ashvin. Just make an athletics check with advantage.
22.
As you go to lift it, you find that it trembles slightly under your grasp. You're not quite sure if you need a little bit more to bring it up.
I'm going to use my
Are you?
ability.
Oh,
yeah.
yay. All right, so go ahead and add that in.
Okay. Adds a +5.
Yeah.
So I said 22, so 27.
So as all of you are lifting, all of you doing your best, you hear this grunt of exertion from Ashvin as it almost feels like her muscles double in size in front of you as they begin to stretch and taut and contort as this pure Rolk power of strength begins to lift at this structure. As it does, you find that it begins to give and bow before the actual ropes along the side that you're holding snap and several of the wood planks shift and break. And you realize this was not a raft sitting on top of it. This is actually a wooden box of sorts. And as it snaps and breaks, as you find yourself pulling off to the side, as the wood gives way, rolling you onto the dunes, you're still holding on to it. The rest of you crowding around now as you're crawling back up to look in, you can see an oblong linen sack. It's about 5 feet long. It's sewn shut, and it's packed inside of this wooden structure in front of you.
It was close. It's the top of something.
Whoa, that was real strong. We're just
What do we get?
Oh, that's real.
It's
That
a,
was
That
incredible.
was beautiful. Whatever you did there.
Thank you.
Wow.
do you still have detect magic?
It's still up for now.
It's been over 10 minutes. Yeah, you don't.
Oh,
it's not
never
right.
I can just fire off another one.
Well, no, it's okay. I just want to know if this thing is safe in here.
As you ripped off the logs from the actual bindings, you revealed a spot that is 2 feet deep and 4 feet long. You can see that this oblong linen sack is right at the top, right next to where you've ripped the logs off.
Is that the only thing that's inside?
Only thing you can see.
Grab
Hecate
that.
You've revealed a very small portion of the structure.
Hecate will kind of pull it out and see what it is.
As you go to shift it, it's heavy. It's an awkward wait.
Okay, I'm gonna scurry up in and help lift it over.
Yeah, so it's not so heavy that you can't move it, but it's heavier than you expected. Whatever's in it is solid.
I'm gonna get into the thing.
Yeah, so as you can't get into it, it's because it's pressed right up against the roof. But as you go to lift it, the two of you sliding it out, there's an uncomfortable realization as it thumps along the ground. If I could have both of you make insight checks.
13.
I rolled a 7, so that's a 6.
A 6, 13. Greta, as it thumps along the ground as you've pulled it out, and as the two of you are looking in, you can see 3 more revealed by the one that was pulled out. This feels like a body bag.
Oh no, this is bad.
There's a structure to what you're holding on to that feels like you're holding on to someone's arm.
How tall is this person?
5 feet.
Oh, dear.
Did we just find a grave?
Yeah,
We might have just
mass
dug up a
grave.
grave.
let's
I don't
put
feel
it
good
back.
about this.
I don't feel good either, but
I can
could
speak
this
to him.
be the missing mercenaries that didn't come back?
We can ask.
Whoa. Oh, graves.
Oh,
Literal
graves.
graves.
Little graves, but graves.
Oh, shit. This feels wrong. I don't know
Well.
why.
Hecate,
We've already dug it up. So
might as well make it useful before we put it back.
So they're made of linen, right? Mm-hmm. He'll pull out a dagger and cut it open.
As you cut it open and pull back the face, immediately looking up to you is a quite shocking and a bit horrifying looking, deeply purple and twisted and contorted dwarven face. The beard looks gnarled and matted, as if it's been here a while. The body is in a state of decomposition, but it almost looks in a bit of a ways like it's slightly waxy in composure. And the face and skin is fully purple. If you could make a medicine check for me.
Yeah, you got it. Oof. 6.
6. What you can determine looking at, because there is a floor to this, is like you've looked at dead bodies before. You get the impression that this is someone who was asphyxiated or poisoned. There's something about it that looks like there was a gasping or a struggling to the body. However, it's not in the state, looking at it, it's either very fresh or there's something slightly off about this corpse that you're looking at, because it's not decomposing even the environment you're in, you would not expect to find. This looks like this person died a few hours ago, which is impossible because you've been here.
I don't know, but this body's giving me a bit of a chill. It seems fresh. Fresher than it should be. And
What happened?
from what I can tell, I can't be exact. Wasn't a nice death.
Doesn't look like
Asphyxiation
it.
or something. Or possibly poison. Something that really was gruesome.
I'm
No.
going to step back. I don't want to be near this.
Maybe someone who got buried the last time this happened.
But why put
That
them?
doesn't sound right to me.
I say from like 10 feet away.
But if they are buried, why put them in the sacks and put them in this structure?
Also,
Exactly.
the last time this happened was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think anyone's supposed to find them.
Oh, does it look like the landslide unearthed this?
Correct.
Looks like this might have been unearthed by that landslide.
Right.
That's smart. Yeah, you're right.
How do you get to talking to it?
I'm going to be right over here.
Stay close, Greta.
I don't want
All right.
Well, my friend, and they put a hand on your shoulder. This is where you come in, and they give you bardic inspiration.
Thank you. And he will invoke the seance card to cast Speak with Dead.
Okay. As this pale greenish blue smoke surrounds you, as you find yourself quieting yourself to speak with this individual, as the smoke begins to waft towards the dwarven corpse in front, you notice that a small tattoo on the forehead, which you had all seen, it was just unremarkable, begins to glow. It's 3 dots in a line vertically over top of an X. And as it begins to glow and flicker, as the bluish green smoke begins to surround, you watch as the corpse stirs slightly before the small symbol on the forehead begins to absorb the smoke, and the spell negates.
Sess.
What just happened?
Somebody prevented this.
They didn't.
That symbol on the forehead.
You can't talk to it.
Nope.
That symbol's stopping it.
Somebody made sure that this person wouldn't ever speak again.
Okay, I'm good with words. I'll come look.
And I walk over. Is it gone?
It's still there.
Do I recognize it as any type of ward at all? Like that would have been imbued?
It's not a tattoo, now that you're close enough to it. It looks like a branding that was done. And looking at it, there's no sign of scarring. It looks almost like it was burned into the forehead.
I've seen grave clerics have certain markings. This is not that, is it?
This is not that. It is
Okay.
similar, though. They usually
Hey.
have 3 dots.
You know about the dots, right? There's something weird going on.
I recognise the three dots. They're what I would say protects us from the undead, things like that. But this one, I don't think I've seen this whole configuration before.
Me neither. And it's not like the tattoo. It's like a branding. Like somebody killed them, then branded them with something.
Right
Would
on
I
the
have
flesh.
ever heard of anything like this?
You are aware that with necromancy, there's sometimes a ritualistic magic that will go along with, say, the construction of the undead or
Yeah.
with the bounding of the undead. This seems close enough in that realm that this is a magic related to necromancy in some way. It appears, though, that it's used to repel.
Can any of us dispel it?
No.
I'm limited.
Sess.
I got a mortar and a pestle. That's it.
Would... This might be a little gruesome. Would
Oh.
it... Do I know if it would still work if you cut it out?
You can certainly try.
That's what I was thinking.
They'll pull out the same dagger you used to cut it out and
What are you doing?
getting rid of the brand.
I gotta go 15 feet away.
Right, just stay close. We don't want
I'm
you to go
15
missing.
feet away. Can't watch.
And I will see if I can try and cut it off.
As you begin to cut into the forehead, making your way around the brand as you're trying to get underneath it while also not completely
Yeah.
cutting yourself or digging too deep. As you begin to cut around it, you find that there's a vibration in the blade. And as you begin to continue carving around, the vibration increases. At this point, you've made it about halfway around. But the vibration is enough that all of you can see his hand shaking as he's attempting to carve into the forehead.
Nervous?
Nope.
All right, well, keep
This
going,
is
then.
something is...
This is not good. I say stop.
We're trying to get to the bottom of this. You will...
As you go to cut around, you find that the blade begins to get hot in your hand. And even looking along the spine, you can see a faint red glow. Until as you make it 3/4 of the way around, the blade detonates. The 3 of you that are in proximity to it find yourselves instinctively covering your faces as you can see this shower of sparks and metal that fling out from Hecate's direction. Greta, from your perspective, the sound is extremely loud as the blade explodes in Hecate's hand. I need the 2 of you to make dexterity saves. I need you to make a dexterity save.
You have inspiration.
I do.
5. Those sparks are going right into Iwin's eyes. He's like, didn't close. He's like,
I had advantage. I rolled a 9 and a 19 plus 1, 20.
20, okay.
15.
So for the 2 of you, you take 10 points of piercing damage of metal shards that fly into your hands. You take 5 points. It's negated in half. However, Hecate, you find that as it goes off, several large metal pieces go directly into your hand. You take 15 points of piercing damage, and you also find that as it is, there are metal shards physically in your hand as you recoil from the figure in front.
That dagger's gone, right?
Oh yeah, the dagger's
yeah.
gone. The dagger and the handle are gone. The entire blade detonated.
He closes his hand. There's like blood coming down his arm.
Greta scampers over.
What happened? What is this?
There's like big shards of metal poking out of his hand.
Ashvin's going over to Iwin.
Hey, it's just not my day, is it?
No.
He's gonna grit his teeth and start to pull the shards out of his hand.
Don't do it. We're fine.
I have these big tweezers.
Look away.
With every pull, your vision just goes white with pain as the agony is almost unbearable being pulled out.
That's one.
Go
Say
ahead.
something happy.
Just do it.
Spooky.
Just do it.
Looking at your hand now, this needs healing. Like there's a significant amount of damage that's been done.
I cast Cure Wound.
Okay. You watch as the wounds begin to close on the hand. There's still visible traces of injury to it. It's not so much that you can't use it, but it's so painful as it's currently just shooting lightning bolts of sensation down your arms.
Might have not been the best idea.
We're done here. And she starts throwing the body back.
What about the brand on the? Is it still there?
The brand is still there.
Oh.
It only made it 3/4 of the way through.
Oh.
Yes.
This is nasty, nasty.
Ashvin scoops it up, starts to toss it back in with the intent to put the wood back on and try and put it
So
back
as you
together.
shift the body back in on top of the other linen sacks that are visible and sliding the wood back in place, what would you like to do?
There's obviously something going on that's wrong.
We need to be careful.
Yes, and we gotta keep looking.
Is there any more, is there a trail beyond this, or is it a dead end?
You just don't see any more postulite
Postulite.
around.
Oh.
Seems like
What
a
is this?
postulite is what led us here. So that might be where we need to start.
Yeah.
I think we all need a rest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I guess we sleep by these dead bodies and...
Maybe we can see from here, tonight, where we want to go to tomorrow, right?
Okay,
While
yeah.
we can still see the glowing.
And we sleep in the tent.
There's something I still want to do.
There must be a lot of bodies there, maybe.
Yeah.
This is not something small here.
No.
No.
I want to check if every single one of the bodies has this brand. I'm not going to check each one individually, just I want to check the next one.
All right, I'll help you.
So as you pull the next one out, this one's quite a bit longer. It's quite a bit heavier as you begin to shift the weight out of the pile, and then pulling it out, you can see that it's as you begin to. What are you using to cut it out? Actually,
He has a second dagger.
He has a second dagger.
Yeah.
Okay. As you begin cutting open the pouch again, kind of fumbling a bit with the blade with the pain in your hand. As you begin cut along the edges and looking down, you can see that it's a very well-built human male, almost with a extremely athletic physique, with a similar contortion of the face. You can see that they kept their hair very short and trimmed, with a small goatee, a number of scars around the face, but there's this twisted contortion, this purple complexion to the skin. It looks as if they similarly had been poisoned.
What about the forehead?
And on the forehead is similarly a brand.
Can we look at their clothing and see if there's
Make
any
an investigation check.
Ashvin has walked off and is just kind of scanning to look and see if anybody is coming because they are kind of done. A thing blew up in their face, and so they're just like maybe 15 feet off, just kind of guarding.
Hecate is one thing, it is persistent.
5, 6.
Well, you have a floor. There's a floor on perception. You have a passive perception. You can't go below.
15.
15, okay. As you begin picking over the second body. You can see that they're not wearing any kind of uniform or anything like that as you begin pulling back down against the linen sack. There's a leather sash that appears to be on the shoulder that is currently stretched down across the body. It runs the lengths from one shoulder to the other opposing hip. And there's a number of mounting points on it, like small grommets where things have possibly hung, either gear or equipment. You're not quite sure. It's blank. You can see it's very well worn. This individual had this garment for a while. Most noticeably, there is an outline where it appears that there was either a logo or an emblazoning or a patch that has been cut and removed off. But it looks like it's been done hastily. You can still see thread from where it was pulled. But it's quite large, whatever it was that's over where the heart would be, that's currently blank.
What color
on
is
this
the thread?
It's plain black thread.
Somebody took a little trouble to hide these bodies and make sure that they didn't know who they were associated with.
What was the name of the first company that Lord G hired?
Oh yeah, I believe he told us the names of the 2 different companies that he sent.
He sent Drakiri Kin,
Drakirikin.
and the other ones sent were Stamets' crew.
Oh man, none of this bodes well for us. We could end up in one of these graves just like this. Us, the 4 of us dead in one of these pits.
I'd like to
contorted
avoid
face.
that.
Me too, I'm just painting
That's-
a picture for you.
As Greta's voice is echoing across the dunes.
Okay, I'll keep it quiet. Are we gonna sleep here? Next to these dead bodies?
I guess we could walk back a little.
Foop, no.
Whoop, no, agreed.
Hecate will try and take the leather sash with him.
Okay, as you remove it, yeah, it's well made.
Just remember that we have a little advantage over them.
Why?
Because we can expect something. I suspect these, who were killed, didn't suspect whatever came their way.
Yeah.
Probably had no idea what was coming.
So we can keep our eyes out. Don't trust anyone.
Okay.
Take anything from anybody.
Okay,
Consume anything that we don't trust.
good idea.
All right?
Speaking of, I'm hungry. Pull out an apple from my bag.
How are you hungry right now?
I'm a starving.
How are you not?
Quick, I'm hungry.
My stomach's grumbling.
Ashvin pulls out some ration.
My apologies,
chewing on
a
it.
dagger just exploded in my hand.
Yeah,
That doesn't make you hungry.
No.
should we try to blend in with the other peoples in the camp?
I think so.
Okay,
I think so too.
we gotta sleep
Sounds good.
for sure.
Yes. Satisfied? Looks at Hecate.
No. But let's go.
So as you make your way up to a clearing that appears to be far enough apart from the other tents that are around, no one's really close to each other. There doesn't appear to be an area where there's a lot of tents, but as you place your tent up in a corner and try to get a good view of the area around you, setting the torch down in the middle as the tent begins to unfold around you, stepping into it is the cheery, warm environment of Hecate's tent with the animal skulls hanging from the ceiling and bits of feathers dangling as this nomad
Home
collecting
sweet
things
home.
along the way. The fire is raging in the middle.
Ah,
It's quite comfortable.
Did anyone pay attention when we started to come over here and set up at all? Like how far away are the other tents?
They're a good 200, 300 feet. You
Oh,
don't
really
seem to
far.
be anyone walking
Okay.
around. It appears most people that are
Okay.
in this area don't walk around at night.
well, different from us.
But so far, no one's paid you any mind.
You see, as Hecate was walking back to where we were all going to kind of set up camp, he seemed very lost in thought, kind of just going through the motions of kind of following you guys, waiting for like a suitable place to set down the tent. And about halfway through, he's started pulling out 2 cards from his little deck on his hip and holding it in the hand that was messed up from the dagger, is kind of staring at it and just begins to kind of ink it very quietly with like squinted eyes. He looks very deep in thought. And as we kind of get back to the camp, he gets in, sets everything up, and just sits down and is focused on his work.
So we're inside the tent?
Yeah.
I'm gonna whisper over to Iwin and say, "Hey, Hecate has that distant look again. You think he's gonna cry in his sleep tonight?"
There's a good chance of it. Where he's looking. I can only suggest this.
What?
If you think he's going to cry in his sleep, get to bed before he does.
Yeah, he whimpers like, "Oh no, my family, you know."
Yeah, I
I
don't
love a
mind it unless I'm
cold
trying to get to
morning.
sleep.
Yeah. He loves the cold mornings.
He's so dark, but then he whimpers.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting contrast.
Yeah, I guess Ashvin doesn't hear it though.
Yeah, Ashvin's never had a problem with it.
So, I'm okay. A louder now. I'm gonna try to get some winks in, 'cause we gotta find these Postulite people tomorrow, so
All right. Good night.
good night.
Good night.
Ashvin is sitting next to Hecate, and they have pulled out their DisQuarter, which is this small. It looks kind of similar to a ukulele, kind of in a way, but it's an instrument that's made out of wood. It's carved from 2 pieces, and there are 4 long, very loose strings. And just next to Hecate, kind of like leaning over also to see what he's drawing, just kind of gently plays, and it sounds like a sad bass version of a ukulele.
Oh, I like that.
That helps lull me to sleep.
You notice the first one that he's inking is what appears to be a raven with outstretched wings, with 2 heads looking off in both directions. And as it kind of begins to take shape, a few minutes later, he kind of pulls the card out in one hand, kind of sets it down. And the quill that he's using pricks his palm with it and puts a little bit on the middle of the card and sets it down and goes on to the next one. He begins to draw it.
Iwin goes not far, but just outside of the tent, and just like sort of plumps down out front and just like observes everything that's in the surrounding. And I think he stays out there until he sees like pretty much until the lights go out of the other camps, if that makes sense.
As you're out there looking out ahead, you can hear voices in the distance as people are cooking. You can hear the soft, sweet tune playing in the tent from the DisQuarter by Ashvin, as well as the feigned snores of Greta, who isn't quite asleep yet, but is giving the impression that she's on her way.
I love a warm night.
Looking, you can see that a few of the tents wink out. You hear at one point an uncomfortable rustling near you coming from the actual soil. And as you look down, not really moving, you see what appears to be a snake just winding its way up out of the dirt in the darkness cast by the sky above. And you see it just slithering along away from you into the night, realizing that there are things that live in this silt now, whatever they are. But as the DisQuarter continues to play and the feigned snores become real ones.
And can I say there are moments while they're playing where Hecate, if you were to look over, there's kind of a pained expression, and there's a feeling that's going into the playing as they're thinking back to just that mass grave. They play.
About halfway through the second card, you can see that this one is the 2 moons, and it looks to be a small landscape, as it looks to be the dead of night, and around there are spirits all over the card, kind of drawn into like the wood of a tree and the soil of the earth, and you notice the small title at the bottom, the witching hour.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of stops for a moment. Is everything okay?
Stops playing. That was a lot.
Yeah. Sure was.
And then starts playing again.
Never gets easier. Never gets easier. He goes back to inking it.
After what seems like an hour, the last of the tents begin to wink out. There's one in the distance that's still lit, but looking from the general profiles and outlines, several people are around a fire, and you can tell just by the body singing that's coming from that direction that it appears they're drinking pretty heavily around it. You don't know if they're going to be going to bed anytime soon. But as it is, you find yourselves quite alone in this almost alien landscape with the soft sound of the Tuitara still playing. Pretty much left alone with your thoughts.
He mindlessly pulls out the tea totem and just sort of just fiddles with it in his hand as he just keeps taking in the night, like the emptiness.
Yeah. The moons begin to rise in the sky. It's casting a pale glow over the landscape in front of you. Night's getting on.
Eventually, Hecate finishes the second card and pricks his palm again, puts it on the card, and sets those both down next to him, and begins the ritual before he goes to sleep.
The night is fairly uneventful. In the morning, you awaken very quickly to the sounds of the bell in the distance as it rings. It's distant, but it's enough that it still causes you all to stir from your slumber. That first toll right at the first break of sun, and then half an hour later, the second toll that rings a few more times. And as you prepare your morning ablutions and take a peek outside the tent, you can see that individuals are rising from their tents and going about whatever their tasks are in this heap. Likewise, you can see a much larger crew that has moved along the embankment that you had scrambled down, and they appear to be using large wagons and sleds to shift piles of muck away from the gravel-embedded road. As it is, it's at least 100 people have come along for this early morning exercise, likely recruited in the night by the survivors, to bring an orderliness back to this operation.
I would want to wake up and make my homunculus servant for the first time.
So all of you can hear the sound of crackling and see small sparks flying as Greta is using a series of tools. You've not really encountered her using them before. Any artificing she was doing was always done in the private of her room. But now as she's in plain view, you can see in a corner the occasional spark, an aromatic whiff of what smells like cypress burning, until after a few moments you can hear the gleeful laughter and slight clapping of Greta, who has successfully succeeded in her creation.
With my black sapphire. I have imbued the heart of essentially a beating heart of a living entity into my mortar and pestle.
And it is now my homunculus servant. It has little wings, the two little wings. So you have the mortar, the bowl, and then the pestle. Broke it in half, and it's two little wings.
The wings is the broken pestle?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you see this,
Maybe I got another one. Maybe it's two pestles.
as these two pestles are currently lifting aloft like chess pieces beating against the wind.
Kind of like a mechanical sort of looking, somehow imbued with life, little mortar and pestle that is now my little servant.
Is this stone bowl surrounded with like a slight lattice of metalwork? Is this small clockwork mechanism causing a whir as this begins to lift off the floor of the tent?
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce your homunculus?
Oh, yeah. This is Zachary.
Zachary.
My homunculus servant. Zachary, go outside.
And you watch as the mortar and pestle fly to the outside of the tent.
Also, Zachary hits bad guys.
That's incredible.
Useful.
Very useful.
That's what I used when I got talked to. Remember, I went to Akna. I got the black sapphire.
You created life.
Thank you. I'm very magical. Yes.
So what does Zachary just go outside? What's he doing now?
Zachary, come on in.
Zip. You watch as the mortar and pestle fly back in through the tent curtains, just
Oh.
hovering in space.
Can you have him relay information back to you wherever it goes?
Not really. So,
All right.
but my homunculus servant can. Zachary can kind of channel my magic. So if I do a spell, it can deliver the spell to someone. If I'm not right next to them.
Hello, Zachary. And I
Buzzing in the air.
try to like touch it or pet.
I
Is
don't
there-
think Zachary likes that.
As the mortar and pestle move just slightly out of your reach
Oh.
with every stroke.
May I?
I don't know, Zachary. What do you think?
You hear no response from the mortar and pestle.
Zachary, to the shoulder.
It just zzz, watch as it lands directly on Greta's shoulder.
Just leave it.
That's incredible.
We'll learn more about it as it goes.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the plan?
We pack up and we try to look as inconspicuous as possible.
That might not be the easiest thing in the world with a flying mortar and pestle.
Oh no, Zachary can just kind of sit, here.
It just clips to your belt. It's currently hanging down.
Yeah.
That's handy.
Be subtle. See? Listens.
The wings just
Very good.
occasionally.
They're clearing that path out there again.
Yeah,
Maybe we should follow that as far as we can go.
definitely.
It only goes down into the basin.
That's it.
We could try to help and talk to people and see.
Yes.
Good idea.
We need to go off the beaten path though, because that's where this undercover operation that this mayor thinks is going on is happening. It's not going to be in plain sight.
Is there another path?
I don't know.
Is the silo or that decrepit house? Is that worth checking out?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should definitely check that
We
out.
should definitely check that out. Let's go there.
So as you step out of the tent and I'm assuming you're breaking it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as it begins to fold itself back up into the staff, the shortest path there is by the tomb that was unearthed. That otherwise you're clambering up over dunes. Do you want to head back the shortest way, or do you want to go around a more oblong way?
We should go around.
Yeah.
Ashvin's just following.
We might want to be a little bit more subtle about this now that we know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as you begin walking yourself up along one of the dunes, now getting it's a hard pull up, and as you do, you see there's a lot of trash in the heap. Mixed in with the soil, this is a full-on dumping ground for common household goods. There's a lot of broken pottery. There's a lot of detritus from meals. You see a lot of animal bones. You see a lot of what appears to be night soil in places that's dumped out from the city. It's generating quite a bit of waste, and there's not a lot of space to put things. So there's this just awful aroma that assaults you every time you take a step. And as you begin to step further up on the dunes, you can see it's not actually endless. By best account, you figure that the full extent of this heap is probably no more than 2 or 3 miles of soil. It's a monumental amount that has been shifted. But looking down now, you can see the undulations of these tilting, silty dunes as they're currently moved by the landscape, trembling slightly underfoot as any bit of wind shifts in the direction, leading you to want to get down them as quick as possible. However, as you're making your way towards the decrepit house, looking back in the direction of the workers who are now trying to unearth the gravel road that led to the way station, You can see that there appears to be a few figures standing near the wooden tomb you unearthed. They're not making any pains to be subtle about it. They're not appearing to interfere with it, but they're standing by it.
Do they look like they're guarding it?
You're quite a ways away now. It's hard to even make out exactly who they are or what they're wearing or what they're doing, but they don't appear to be making any motions towards it. They're just standing by it. But you can see there are 3 there.
See that?
Yeah.
We're not the only ones that know it now exists. But
Maybe they're the ones who did it.
We want to go take a look.
Maybe we pretend as if we don't know what's going on. We just townsfolk walking by.
If there's one thing I learned during my time in Beerus, it's don't go back to the scene of the crime.
We didn't commit any crime.
We didn't, but we...
But you tried to cut out a man's forehead.
for good reason.
Yes, for good
For
reason.
good reason. The knife exploded in your faces.
That was the consequence, but it wasn't.
I
didn't
know,
know it's-
I know. Okay, well, which way?
Let's just keep an eye. Let's just
Yeah.
keep going where we're going. Let's just keep an eye on those 3.
Okay.
Because it doesn't look like they've opened it, right? Because
No.
we've like
They're facing away from
They're
it.
just standing
They're standing
by it.
next to it.
sent it. Okay.
Do you wanted to go check out the silo, right?
Yeah, let's go
Yeah,
there.
let's go check out that silo first. On the way there, though, Hecate, you can see he, like, looking through, like, just the rubbish that people throw here. You can see he just kind of is idly looking around to see if there's anything he can take. And he's going back to the scavenger mode, seeing if he can find anything.
Make a perception check.
How far are we from the silo are we?
At this point, you're about 300 feet. 1? No. As you picking through it, you find garbage, but not anything that is particularly useful. But-
Unfortunate.
As you're picking your way through now, stepping towards the silo, particularly Greta, if you could make a perception check.
Zachary, up to my shoulders. Thank you. Ashvin, I realize that if you want Zachary to be nice to you, I just tell him to be nice to you.
All right.
Zachary, go give Ashvin a tap on the nose.
You watch as this mortar and pestle flies directly towards your face.
Light tap.
And just coming at a high speed, as light tap is commanded, slows down dramatically and just barely brushes against the tip of your nose.
Now bow. Not you. Zachary, bow.
You watch as the pestle lowers in air before returning back to height. I mean, dangerously close to your eyebrows. Just
Back to 1.
just shoots back to shoulder.
Charming.
25.
As you're having this conversation, stepping around the top of the dunes, just as you're coming down one of the edges, you can see the shape of this earthen platform where it's more of a small butte. Back when this was a meadow, this would have been a raised rocky outcropping that is covered in turf at the top. It's quite large. It's large enough for a small manor house, and you can see the outlines of the ruined silo as this would have logically been where originally the farmhouse for these wheat fields had been, at this higher elevation, as it gives a commanding view of what would have once been the main wheat crop for all of Restovarn. You've seen this before. You've seen this house the day previously with its threadbare walls and its rusting silo rings, and really it looks like it could be wiped out with a quick, strong storm any night. You catch a glimmer of something shiny on the side of the hill, which previously you had not seen. And as your eyes dart to it, as you're now still 300 feet away, as one dune is crossing another dune, and you get just a moment of brief look, you can see what appears to be a fairly armed individual attempting to blend in to one of the side walls, staring out at the expanse of dunes as you're approaching.
Toward us or no?
In your general direction. Enough so that squick paranoia that you always have latent there, always running,
Always.
kicks into overdrive suddenly as instincts at seeing what appears to be an armored individual attempting to blend into the rocks almost makes you instinctively hit the floor.
Everybody halt. Halt.
What's going on?
Stop.
Okay.
What's happening?
Everybody stood on the ground.
It's really
What's-
gross.
Just crouch.
Happening.
Crouch close to the ground.
All right.
Are we open? Is there anything around us?
You're fully in the open. You can't
Okay.
see the farmhouse. It was the briefest cross between the dunes that
Yeah.
allowed you to get a vantage point
Just-
for it.
Crouch close to the
All
ground.
right, I'm crouching.
Why?
Okay.
What is happening?
I put on my goggles.
Fine.
All right, so make another perception check. This time for focus, yeah.
20.
20. Shifting the lenses to zoom in. Is it natural 20 or a natural
Nope.
20?
10
Okay.
plus 10.
Oh, squirt.
20. Also, I have a base of 20 as well.
Right. As you're looking ahead now, it's trying to settle your heartbeat, which is now racing. You can see what appears to be a hooded individual with what appears also to be a crossbow that is resting against a piece of stonework, staring out in the direction that you are. There doesn't appear to be any kind of focus on you, but they are scanning the horizon in your direction. Most noticeably, as the lenses lock into focus in place, all you can see of the face, which is cowled, appears to be an elongated X-marked scar across the features.
Had I seen that before? Yeah.
You had not seen this
We-
individual before.
What, Greta?
What do you see?
There is a hooded, cowled individual wearing armor with a crossbow. That away,
And I point toward it.
there's a big scar on the face too, like they've seen battles and stuff. So, okay, we gotta figure this out. We don't want to get attacked. Maybe we talk to them.
How many feet?
You're 300 feet from the house at this point.
Okay.
I don't like crouching in the middle of
Yeah,
this.
me neither. This,
Okay,
this
well
feels
maybe we
ineffective.
just. Okay, we got options. We can sneakily be sneaky.
And kind of try to go. Is there any way up to the house around out of this person's range?
Because there are two dunes in front of you between, you caught this glimpse as two dunes crossed.
Okay.
Your plan was to go around the second dune and then approach it from underneath. At this point, you could crawl up the dunes to get an equal eye-level vantage point. But you're going to have to roll stealth checks for it because that's technically putting you directly in their line of sight.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think if we act stealthy in the middle of the day, and we're going to draw more attention to ourselves,
Yeah.
then let's just try to act casual and make our way towards there until they maybe present themselves or
Yeah.
to us.
Because it's 4 of us. I think only one of them.
We feign ignorance. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we're like,
Huh?
do,
We're
looking
just here to
around
work.
here.
We're just here from the mayor.
Ashvin uncrouches and just starts walking forward.
Yeah, that's
in
a
the
good
same
Okay,
idea.
I
I'll
guess
follow-
we're going.
All right?
You said to be casual.
No, I like that. I'm just saying, I'm following you.
You look too casual, like you just walked into a shop.
So, as you're continuing to walk around now, as you are now walking around the dune, are you talking? Are you silent? Or what are you?
No, I'm just walking.
Hecate will try and be nearby, but quiet.
Okay.
Like,
So as you're
Normal day.
as you're walking, as you're approaching the side of one dune, and you're aware if you cross this, you're going to be in sight of this individual that's
Okay.
up in the farmhouse. And right as you approach the edge of it, you have a choice here. Do you step forward? What do you want to do?
Ashvin could go one of two ways. Odd, I am gonna go the fight our way in. Even, I'm gonna go the let's talk.
Oh no.
4 even.
Okay.
well,
So Ashvin says, why didn't we just go talk to them?
Okay, let's do it. I'm
Well, if we-
okay.
I got something that could change that. If we wanted to be particularly stealthy, I can make one or two of us invisible.
I'll
Right?
talk.
I didn't know about that.
You do know.
Who wants to come with me?
I'll go with you.
You can go. I can make myself
All right.
invisible. Follow you.
Sounds good.
Wow.
You coming
I'll-
with me?
I'll go with you.
You go? Okay.
Greta, how good are you being quiet?
Not so good.
You would
but
like
my
that.
arm is loud.
If you're invisible, you got to be quiet too.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk.
Okay.
Lovely.
So he will begin to kind of mutter an incantation and pull out the card, the Spectre, and as Greta and Hecate disappear.
And Zachary.
And Zachary.
All right. So as the two of you step forward, the two of you in tow, as invisibility takes hold and you vanish out of existence.
On the way, I say to Iwin, I'm a musician. You are my manager. Got it?
Oh, yeah, I can play with that. All right.
And I start walking up.
So as you
And I've got my DisQuarter, it's on my back, but I think I'm going to sort of bring it like to my side, just kind of cradling it, just so it's visible that I'm not holding a weapon, I'm holding my instrument.
As you step out from around the dune with the two of you in tow and begin walking forward, at first there's no reaction. You can't see the individual that Greta was referring to. And as you're stepping forward now, you're about 240 feet away from this butte that leads up. And you can see from this perspective that there appears to be an earthen ramp that is constructed, but it has a railing that wraps around it that kind of leads up a zigzag that leads up to the top of this butte, because it's taller than the rest of the landscape, but only by about 50 feet, which is enough to give it a hugely commanding view, almost like an earthen tower. As you're approaching now, stepping around, first few steps out, you see no reaction until you hear the boom from the earthen tower. And you hear the and looking, you see 4 bolts streaking through the air towards you, almost in unison.
Are we still playing musician and manager right now?
Oh, God.
Commit to it.
All right.
This will make for a good song.
3 of them miss.
Okay.
However, one of them strikes, doing 8 points of piercing damage as it hits you directly below the collarbone.
Okay.
And looking down now, as you're holding your DisQuarter, as you're looking as 3 bolts land around you, you just see the thud, and looking up, see no one in the rocks.
I'm an artist! And I hold up the
I'm a
DisQuarter.
manager!
There's no reaction. And you suddenly find yourself standing in the open. What would you like to do?
Are we
Grab
trying to make
the bolt.
haste? Like,
We could.
up there?
I'm gonna grab the bolt and yank it out.
Just wanted to treat you to a tune.
Hecate will rush by and just say, "Get to cover."
Yeah, are we trying to get up there as quickly
I think we
as
should get
possible?
as close to
We-
it as
Yeah.
possible.
I'm gonna look for cover per his instruction.
As you begin to scatter, you hear once more the only this time, looking up, one of them catches you in the calf, the other one landing over by the rocks.
Okay.
One of them hits you right in the right arm.
Ugh,
Missing the armor, going straight in. Both times, another 8 points of piercing
we
damage.
haven't even played for you. Why are you so angry?
As you're looking now, you have 2 bolts stuck in you. One in the below the clavicle, one in the calf now. As you're limping over to cover, the 2 of you are racing towards the ramp.
Yeah, well,
Who
we want to try to
hates
find
music?
As you begin scattering for cover. As you are right now, you have a bit of almost a cartoon back and forth looking for something to hide behind before realizing there's no cover between you and this tower. You're going to have to run back around the dune if you have any hope of avoiding any incoming
And
fire.
how far back is that?
It's just around behind you.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
So 30 feet as you race
Sure.
back behind.
How much damage did I take?
Took 8 points.
I took 16. Yeah.
And as you disappear back behind, you hear as more bolts strike into the silt.
Zachary, I command you to go find where that's coming from.
Zachary's
That is not what the homunculus can do.
I'm learning. It's the first day on the job.
Yeah. So as Zachary leaps off your shoulder and hovers in place for a moment,
Just stay here.
Zachary
and get
returns
the-
back to your shoulder. As the 2 of you are now racing along,
Yeah, trying to find the source, right?
Yeah.
Of where that's coming from.
as you're racing along towards the platform, you make it about halfway before you hear. And looking now, you see 4 bolts land in the silt around you as a cloud of dust rises up around you as you're currently standing in the space. And looking over in the direction of one another, your voices, you can see that it's landing slightly on your clothing and skin. It's not enough to where you're clearly visible, but your presence is given away.
Okay, we need to go very slow.
Or
We
very
need to go
quickly.
very slow.
I want to immediately cast Spirit Guardians.
There it is.
And
With these chitinous green creatures surrounding you with wings.
and I yell out, I guess we need my associates with me here with us.
What?
I'm trying to play it to the manager.
What would you like to do?
Could Hecate try and gauge where they were coming from?
It's clearly coming from above, but wherever they are, they're in an above position to the point. You figure that they're close to the edge of the rocks, but they're firing, wherever they're firing from, they are fully obscured behind structures.
Okay. We're trying to make haste as much as we can in the invisibility, because if they're up high, we're trying to get as close as we can so they can't see us
Correct.
anymore.
Yep, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how far are we to the base of that thing?
So you're still 180 feet from the base.
Yeah, we want to keep going.
Yeah. All right, so as you continue to race forward, from your position, as you're currently looking around, you can see the dust scattering from the feet of Greta and Hecate as they're racing towards the earthen ramp, crossbow bolts landing around them. As whoever it is picked up on their presence but still can't see them, obviously. From your position, as you're looking up, both of you make a perception check.
14.
14?
Sis.
Big time, sis.
Oh,
9.
As you're looking forward, you can see that it appears that next to the silo, you see a clumping of rocks that do not appear to match the rest of the rubble. And as the crossbows are firing, you can see the briefest of movement. But whoever it is, they're fully concealed underneath what appears to be a pile of stones as they're firing down below.
Does it look to be coming from one person?
No.
what if
You can see
the
two
person is
piles of
something?
stones.
Do you not like rock music? And they're trying to make it really obvious for their friends.
Is that a real?
There's a brief pause before a crossbow bolt embeds itself in the silt very close to where your head is. Just,
Guess not.
right? So as you're continuing to race forward,
Rock music's not everybody's taste. Rock music.
all around you now,
Go.
still, what's your armor class? right now?
16.
16, what's your armor class?
17.
17. All around you now, the crossbows are landing closer and closer as it appears they're kind of dialing in to your path as you're running towards it. Still missing, but missing in an uncomfortable way as it's getting closer and closer.
Okay.
And as the two of you are racing forward, you can see that nearest the earthen ramp, something very thin, this is just because of Greta's paranoiac passive perception, something very thin is stretched across, like a thin wire, the entrance of the ramp.
Hecate, stop, look it up there, there's a trap.
You're still a ways away from it.
Okay, we gotta go up to the trap, and then we gotta disarm the trap when we get up there.
Is it like along the ground?
No, it's like in the middle, kind of. Just keep going.
All right.
Is there a manager we can speak with?
It comes so close that the dust actually kind of kicks in your eyes for a moment, but it does not find purchase.
Maybe we have to give it up.
I'm done talking. And Ashvin goes into a rage.
Okay. Hecate will begin a spirit dance, which does not break invisibility.
So as you're racing forward now with this massive cacophony of dust that kind of scatters and blows several of the bolts away as the two of you are running forward. Still invisible, 3 bolts landing around you. 1 bolt catches you directly in the leg. Just, and as it buries itself, you feel this just numbness hit your leg as the bolt goes in. It has 8 points of piercing damage. I need you to make a concentration save.
That's going to be a success.
So it saves. So as you're continuing to run forward now,
Still invisible.
Still invisible. The bolts are getting closer as they're dialing you in. What are the two of you doing?
Ashvin's going into a dash.
Okay.
And as that happens, and their muscles are just pumped, and there's a vein kind of in their head that's gotten thick, and the ground around them as they run, there are these vines that seem to emerge in the area around about 15 feet of them as they run and kind of follows, sort of dipping up and down like some sort of a serpent in the ground. And it's all these vines, and then every so often a little pink flower pops up with this magical energy, and it keeps following them as they run for, so if it's a dash, it would be 80 feet. Total, and they're going to keep running up towards where that rock is.
So as you're now sprinting forward, the silt just pounding out below you as the vines are giving you grip and launching you forward with these unnatural speeds. As you break cover, you watch as 2 bolts sail past, and you, Iwin, just instinctively pulling the shield up as 2 of them embed against it. As you're now shielding yourself, are you following behind?
Stay behind me!
I'm following behind, yeah, and I yell out, my client just wants to play a song for all of you.
As you're running behind, covering yourself, because you're not the same speed as Ashvin. As immediately you're 30 feet behind them as they are leaping forward. 2 bolts go straight into you as they find purchase. 16 points of piercing damage reduced down because you're raging.
Yeah.
But
So halved?
halved.
Yeah.
As you're running forward, as you're charging ahead, the 2 of you can now hear the roaring Ashvin and the screaming Iwin holding up a shield as crossbow bolts are flying from the positions. You still can't see them, but you have a general direction that 2 of them are roughly directly overhead in the rocks, but you're still unable to make out their perspective. Yeah. 2 of them appear to be very close to
Are
you
we
from
close
the
to
sounds.
the bottom?
At this point, it'll be in the next round that you'll be up
Okay.
against this wire.
Okay.
Yeah, we gotta undo this wire.
The wire is 3 feet off the ground.
So you think we could hop? Could we hop over it, or
I would go underneath.
Greta could limbo.
no? You could just like slide
I'm too
slide
foot-
underneath.
You just walk right under.
Yeah.
Right under, probably.
As you're charging ahead now, 2 bolts land. 2 bolts come towards you from closest.
Ivory.
1 misses you, Greta.
Hey.
As you instinctively roll, hearing the zzz from Zachary as the bolt just goes over your shoulder. The other one catches you in the arm.
All right, currently my AC is a little higher.
What is it now?
21. Or
21. It was 20?
Yeah.
Oh.
It hits.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It was a 20. I'm sorry.
Pain. No, it's fine. No,
Yeah.
it's all good.
8 points of piercing damage again.
All good.
As you take another hit. However, at this point, you figure that your back will be against the rock at this point. As the
Okay.
charging Ashvin is still going ahead. So both miss. As the 2 of you are charging, you'll be there in 3 rounds. At the rock face, you'll be there in 2 rounds.
Okay.
So as you cross this next hurdle now, as one of the bolts flying towards you, the branches just flick it out of the air. As it cascades and snaps and vanishes in the silt. As you're still racing ahead now. Iwin, as you're holding up the shield, looking from your perspective, make a perception check.
This is gonna be the highest roll of the game for you.
Yep, you're right.
22.
2.
I do it. Highest roll for him.
Unique to your perspective, as the shield is in front of you in your half plate. I mean, you're a tank right now as you're running forward. From your perspective, you can see to your left, to the direction of the left side of this earthen pillar, the shapes of 3 individuals running towards you and the party as they are currently sprinting towards you, recognizing them as the outlines of those that had been around the wooden box. At this point, they're still a ways away, but they are running as fast as possible towards you. But only Iwin, you know this,
Right.
because the rest of you don't have the perspective on it. Because right now you're
As
tunnel vision.
we come up to the wire,
Mm-hmm.
can I quickly suss out the situation to see if it's something I could disable,
Make an
or
Arcana
should
check.
I just walk underneath it?
Make an Arcana check.
Oh wow, I thought that was a 1. 10.
10. Giving it a quick once over, even with a 10. There's nothing magical about this. It's a
Oh, it's
tripwire.
literally a tripwire.
It's a tripwire attached to some kind of chemical agent.
Okay.
Which is rigged up around 2 clay vials.
Okay, is there like a spot kind of to like shimmy up a rock or like stay inconspicuous as we monitor around the tripwire?
You can get around it knowing where it is.
Right, but I mean, once we've gotten around it, is there a spot where we could? Well, I guess we're invisible.
Yeah, we're invisible.
Okay.
Yeah, you're invisible.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, we'll just.
And you're moving out of the dust. That's also something to
Okay.
point out. The second
Oh.
you get onto the earthen ramp, you're
Okay.
off of the dust.
So are we on the earthen ramp now?
As you make your way around this tripwire, which is clear now, but it's thin.
Don't we have to be together?
You don't know where you don't know where each other are.
Yeah, no, you can be as far away from me as
Oh
you
yeah,
want.
Yeah.
I got my own thing going on.
Yeah. So you're just calling out to one another as you're stepping around it. For you, Ashvin, as you're charging ahead now, this time closing in within one round. 16 to hit.
It hits.
It hits. Okay, so that's another 8 points of piercing damage reduced.
Halved.
Yeah. Beds into the shield, and as a third one, it hits in. So as it boom boom, is now at this point you have 4 bolts that are currently stuck in the shield as you're still charging forward. From this perspective, as you're looking around now, you can see at the top of the house make a perception check real quick.
Natural 20.
Natural 20. As you look up in the direction at the top of the house, you can see a cowled individual currently standing very well hidden against what would have been the chimney, blending in with it almost entirely, as this crossbow is leaned up against a mantle pointed in your general direction. And as the wind is flicking across, the cowl pushing back slightly, you recognize Lefty currently up in this position looking down at you.
Sure. How many feet away from me?
At this point, you are 80 feet from the earthen ramp. So the next round, you'll be up where Greta and Hecate have
But
been.
they are.
Because they're up and they're up into the house, 160-ish. But they're further away from you than...
When I see that,
They've been firing at disadvantage this whole time, all the
Oh,
crossbows.
great.
when I see that, what I want to do with this time is I want to keep dashing, but then also I'd like to stow away the Duitara and reach into one of my, reach into my pouch that I have I have my darts in, and I'm just going to grab a dart and just kind of have it at the ready as I'm running.
Okay. As you're running up now, seeing the large mantelpiece of the fireplace as it's currently up above you, as you're readying the dart, and as you're running forward ahead, you can see these individuals are still running. This time as they're running now, you can see them beginning to brandish weapons. It appears they're coming to enter into conflict. The two of you, as you're beginning to climb up the earthen ramp, make a perception check, both of you.
13.
10. You can hear the sounds of footfalls of someone above you. You can hear the clank of armor and very heavy footfalls of someone or something pounding out of this structure towards the edge. It's so loud, it's above you. You're not sure if they're coming down the earthen ramp, but it's coming in your general direction enough that it causes you to look up, not being able to see anything directly in front. And as you're continuing to climb, your way up, the two of you, from your perspective, as your eyes lower back down, you can see now a flash as looking like a cannonball leaping off the side of this butte. A heavily armored individual, very clear from the massive, solid profile and the flipping beard, which is currently like askew, almost flapping in the wind. A dwarven individual holding what looks to be a large warhammer in one hand.
Oh.
As they're leaping off the side of this butte down onto the landscape below. And as you're currently pulling up to reach this earthen
And that was
ramp.
the butte was the grouping of rocks, right?
Correct, the
Okay.
ones that the house is on top of.
Yeah.
As the individual lands with a thud directly in front, just poof, with the dust kicking up around them. As you feel this poof, as this crossbow bolt hits you, taking 8 points of piercing damage reduced. Iwin, that's a 20 to hit, not natural 20. And both the other crossbow bolts land at your feet. That's 8 points of piercing damage. Oof. As this individual steps forward now, this warhammer in their hand. Well, so you seems to be the ones I'm looking for. And looking this individual now stamping across the earth. From your perspective, you're now behind them.
Yeah.
As this hulking metallic mass of muscle and metal is now walking towards you across the dune. Are you slowing up or are you still charging ahead?
I'm still charging. I'm seeing pink. I'm just still charging.
So as you're charging ahead and they're stepping forward, like, I just want to have a conversation. as they're bringing up the warhammer.
Didn't seem like it. And I bring up my glaive with my other hand.
As you do, as the glaive comes up and this individual is raising up a warhammer, you can see now as you're about to make contact, coming from around the bend, 3 other individuals who appear to be running towards you, armed. As the first blow collides with the glaive, as the individual brings up the warhammer, and you feel that solid, numb vibration pass down your arm as the hit strikes. And as you're now charging forward, like as you can see that, like Ashvin is now fully entering combat with someone. What are you doing?
With Ashvin going into combat, and then those 3, I think I come to a sliding stop wherever I am and put my shield up, but then also I'm preparing to throw a ray of enfeeblement at the first person I can reach out of those 3.
Okay.
And point of order, it's still difficult terrain around me for
Correct.
15 feet.
Correct.
So
as the vines begin to creep up around this individual who's standing in front, you can see their beard is flecks of gray and black and brown as it's mottled. They look to be very unclean. There's a slight spittle at their sides of their lips, and you get this reek of alcohol in their breath. As the impact of your glaive then kind of riposting against it, you can feel the muscle behind this person who is parrying with you slightly. As they just look up, "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Stameth," as they begin to bring a hammer down as you go into a defensive position.
yeah.
And that's where we'll have to pick up.
Oh, God!
Oh, Stameth is so
Oh, it's the man
mad.
himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
The dwarf, the myth,
Hey,
the legend.
we've got surprise on them. Don't worry.
Oh, dang.
Do we?
yeah,
oh,
because
we
we're
do,
invisible.
Yeah, you do. And we also cut the 3 off guard because they expected us to come the other way.
Yeah. A lot of
We
their
still walked into a trap.
A lot of their arrows aren't there anymore.
I love the approach of like negotiating into the trap.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and thank you for watching season 1 of Novel Chronicles. Well done, everybody. Well done. First season is concluded. We will pick up next year in 2022 with season 2. Hope to see you all then. If you enjoy this channel, enjoy what we're making, it would mean the world of us if you could support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/BrooklynQuarter. You are what funds this channel. So if you want to subscribe to one of the tiers there, it makes all the difference in the world for us. I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful rest of the year, and we will see you in 2022.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye, everyone.